Oh, hello there. I didn't see you come in. Welcome to Board with Life's top 3 gateway games that are not Settlers of Catan.
I'm Chris, in this city it's Donald, and we're going to break them down.
We're looking at the top 3 gateway games that aren't Settlers of Catan. When we say that, we're not picking on Catan specifically. We're more just talking about how there's certain list of usual suspects like Ticket to Ride, Carcassonne, Settlers of Catan, Dominion, these games that people always talk about as good gateway games. And we want to get a little more deep cut with it. Not too deep cut. I'm not going to get crazy.
No. But before we get to the list, we're going to have an honorable mention.
So our honorable mention is King of Tokyo, published by Yellow Games.
Yellow.
And designed by the legendary Richard Garfield.
So a couple of the reasons we wanted to include this game. The main one is it's got a mechanic that people are already familiar with if they played like any sort of game whatsoever, because it's pretty based around Yahtzee.
Yahtzee!
So you're rolling die, and then picking the ones you want to keep and moving on. However, it goes a little bit deeper than Yahtzee because you get little power cubes and you can buy things and you're fighting people, so it's a little bit more, fun.
Yeah, you get power-ups, you get to battle, and it's just based off of like a King of the Hill mechanic. So everything about it is really familiar, but it's got enough flavor to make people go, oh, there's more to this whole board game thing than meets the eye.
Yeah. It also has great artwork and funny characters, and it also only takes about 30 minutes, so you can kind of get them into it and get them out real quick, and generally people want to play a couple times in a row.
It also has an expansion. There's a lot of places you can take it. If your friends really get into it, you don't have to like jump straight into playing Twilight Imperium. You can do a baby step into that.
Plus, you get to blow their mind when you tell them that the guy who designed Magic the Gathering. They all go like, what? And then you can also like lead into Robo Rally, which is also another pretty good gateway game.
Yeah. King of Tokyo. Garfield. Oh, hi, you're back.
Yeah, our number 3 game is Risk Legacy. And we actually don't have a copy of Risk Legacy.
Oh!
But the reason we don't have a copy of Risk Legacy is your board changes each time you play it. You get to make decisions, you get to rip up cards that you don't want, you get to make certain areas more powerful, things of that nature. So it's not one of those games that we all own a copy of. Only one of us owns a copy of it, and we are not that one.
It's brilliant marketing to trick your friends into each buying a different set. Like, Risk Legacy isn't a game that you buy and then play with a different set of friends. It's a game that theoretically you maybe own 3 copies of, which is brutal and devious and something I'll take no part of, but I will trick you into buying 3 copies of Risk Legacy.
But actually, that's one of the reasons that we picked it to be number 3 on our list, is the fact that one campaign of Risk Legacy lasts 15 games, and everybody gets to change, and decisions are made throughout that change it. So by the end of the 15 games, your game plays entirely differently than someone else's game. So it's a cool way you start people with the first game, and hopefully you hook them in, and then they're invested in it because they've actually done something that changed what game 2, what game 3, what game 4 will be like.
The reason it's a legit choice for a gateway game also is everybody has played Risk, most likely, who has any passing interest in board games. I'm sure you know someone who, when you say like, oh yeah, I'm really into board games, they go, oh, I used to play Risk all the time in high school, so yeah, I'm into board games too. And that dude maybe doesn't quite get it, but that dude can probably get down to some Risk Legacy, and it'll be easy to introduce him to other stuff after that. It also has like a really cool gimmick and hook that I think will freak people out with like tearing things in half. Like the first time you do that, it makes your brain like buzz.
Yeah, and there are actually components of the game where there are compartments in the box that are sealed, and you open them at certain points throughout the game and your campaign that have like new figures that you get to use and things like that. And we won't go too deep because it oddly gets to be a spoiler for a board game, which is cool. And also, it's shorter than traditional Risk. It has certain things that you need to do to win, and they are not always destroy everyone in the whole world.
And that's why Risk Legacy is our number 3 pick. You again? Why are you still in my house? Just playing. Welcome back. Next up on our list is number 2,
Formula D.
Formula Day.
Formula D.
Formula Day.
It's actually an old French game that was initially called Formula D. They brought it over to America, and it is now called Formula D.
Or Freedom D in the United States version.
I actually call it freedom, determination, and honor, but I don't have friends. Main reason why this is a great gateway game is, like our other two, it has a mechanic that people will immediately recognize.
His name's Rusty, and he fixes the cars.
It's actually, at its core, a roll and move game, which, if you're into board games, the second you hear roll and move, you go, ooh, I don't want to play that board game. Also, if you're into board games, the second you hear it's a car racing game, you go, ugh, I hate car racing. And then I say, really? How do you feel about 17th century farming in France? And then you still go, I don't know, I hate you. But it's a roll and move game that adds in some different elements. So there are, your car has gears, and the gear you're in determines what size die you roll. And the higher gear, the larger numbers are on your die, so the faster you move. And they're corners, and each corner you have to stop in a given amount of times, so you're constantly upshifting and downshifting to go very fast on straightaways and then slow down for corners, so it actually replicates car racing pretty well in that respect.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a push your luck in this game. There's you're balancing risk versus reward. It's a roll and move game, but there's enough decision making in it to make you feel like it's not luck that is determining things.
Another good thing about this game as a gateway game is that it has two sets of rules. One is very, very simple, very easy to teach, literally in 5 minutes, and everyone gets it within one round of turns. But then it has a more advanced set of rules where you're actually picking custom drivers that have different skills and things of that nature. So it's an easy thing. If somebody likes it, you can bump it up a little bit. That being said, obviously this is a very well-worn box. We play it a whole lot. We never, ever, ever play with the more advanced rules, because we're always introducing people, because it fits 10 people. So that's also a good thing. You can get a bunch of new people, or people bring their girlfriends that don't like games or whatever, they can play this really well. One slight negative for this, though, is there is player elimination. It is possible to be eliminated. That being said, if it happens, it almost always happens like 1 or 2 rolls away from the very end of the game, so you're not sitting there forever. It would be pretty tough to get eliminated more than, before you're 3/4 of the way through the game.
Yeah, I have seen people in a 10-player game, like 10-player games often do. It can overstay its welcome with that many people if everybody's not focused in on the game. I think it plays perfectly fine with like 6 people or even 8 people. But once you kind of get into that like maximum number of players, it gets to the point where everybody kind of has to like take their turn and be done, or else it can take a while. And then I've seen people like purposely crash just so they can go like drink beer and hit on girls. I don't know why we invite people like that to our parties.
I don't know. It's probably because we only play board games in the bar from Roadhouse. So yeah, that's our number 2 game, Formula D.
Just playing. I haven't been reading this whole time. So here we are at the top of the mountain. Number 1, our top 3 gateway games that aren't Settlers of Catan, aren't Dominion, aren't Carcassonne, aren't Ticket to Ride. What is it? What is it?
I think it's probably going to be Takaido.
It's Takaido.
It's Takaido by Antoine Bauza.
Published by Funforge.
Yeah, they did a great job. It is an absolutely gorgeous game, which is one of the reasons it's at the top of our list.
What's this game about?
Basically, it is a game where you are taking a pleasant stroll through Japan.
Boring. Give me more.
There's not really more to it. It's gorgeous, and it's a very leisurely game that is not combat oriented. It's it really rewards taking your time, and there's decision making in the game, but kind of everything's a good decision, and it doesn't play like any other game that we've played. It is so kind of relaxed, and you're not screaming at other people, and there is a winner of the game. Someone wins, but that's so not kind of the point of playing. I can't remember if I've ever won. I never remember who wins. It doesn't matter.
It's me. Takaido's interesting because the theme of the game, as Chris said, is you're just taking a stroll through Japan, and you're competing to have met the most interesting people, to have swam in the most hot springs, to have seen the most beautiful vistas, to have eat the most delicious food, and to have donated the rest of your money to the temple.
Sure.
It's a very peaceful, leisurely game. It has a mechanic where literally the person who's last in line gets to go next, and you can go as far as you want. And the way that ends up working is people who rush ahead have to sit there and wait as the other guy kind of leisurely strolls along and sees everything there is to see, racking up more points and having more opportunities. You'd think that that's a boring game that doesn't have any amount of strategy or competition to it. But there is actually weird situations where you find yourself forced into making decisions that you didn't mean to, largely due to you sort of not planning your trip as well as you could have.
Sure, it's a perfect example of the mechanics matching the flavor, where playing through this game, you feel like you are taking part in the theme of this game. And there is some interaction. You can block other players. You can certainly screw people over. But it's balanced so well that by doing that, you're almost always also hurting yourself at least as much. And you just don't. I mean, there's certainly games that when we play, we want to screw people over. And that's the fun of the game. And that just isn't that way in this game. So it's for people that don't like board games because they think they might be stressful or they think that, they're not competitive or whatever. This is a perfect game for them. It's a game that you could play with, your brother-in-law that you hate at a family function because you're not going to start yelling at him about how stupid his shoes are, which my brother-in-law wears bad shoes all the time. And
he does.
If you know one thing about me, it's I can't take bad shoes.
He doesn't like bad shoes, folks. It is worth mentioning again, the game is beautiful. It uses clean lines in interesting ways. The board is a line with dots on it, which is really interesting and weird.
I will say, however, one negative about this game is that there isn't a whole lot of depth past your kind of initial couple plays, which, it being a gateway game, doesn't really matter much. But it kind of plays the exact same way when you go through it over and over. That being said, they just announced that they're releasing an expansion to this game that's going to have different encounters, and it's going to have a different modified set of rules that are going to have some different stuff. So it seems like they're adding a little bit of that in, which is great.
Also, different than a lot of gateway games that I can think of off the top of my head, whether we're talking about Carcassonne or Catan or Formula D or King of Tokyo or Risk or any of the games we've talked about. For a gateway game, it is more Euro in the sense that you're a lot more in control of why you win and lose. There's no dice rolling.
Sure.
Other players can, block you and stuff, as we said, but it's a game where you're in control of your own destiny, which is, I think, a big step in learning more intense games is getting used to that idea where the dice didn't screw you because you rolled the wrong number. You screwed you by making the wrong decision 2 turns ago and not thinking about what the other guy was going to do.
And normally in games like that, they're really stressful because the decision's hard. This one, all the decisions are good, so it's just not stressful. So you're making your own decisions, and those will either lead you to winning or losing, but you always feel okay with the decision that you end up making. So yeah, it's beautiful, it's different, it's interesting. Highly, highly recommend it. That's why it's our number 1. So that was our list of top 3 gateway games that are not Settlers of Catan. I hope you enjoyed it. We're going to start doing these top 3 lists on the reg very regularly. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. We've got sketches coming out every week. Our longer series is coming up really, really soon. We've got board game news every single week. So make sure to keep up to date. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, do all that cool social media stuff. Also, let us know in the comments what you liked about this, what you didn't like about this. We're new to this, it's fluid, so we definitely want to hear what you guys want to see, and we'll try to do better about doing that in the future. So thanks again, and I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned.
Oh, hi there.